शन्नो मित्रश्शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः ॐ गुं गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ आदरणीयाः अत्र समुपस्थिताः अतिथयः महाजनाः महोदयाः भवद्भ्यः सर्वेभ्यो भूयिष्ठां नम उक्तिं विदधामि। संस्कृतवाणी मम मातृवाणी भवति, परन्तु संभवतः अत्र समुपस्थितानां सर्वेषां भवताम् अवगमने कठिनं भविष्यति, अतः आङ्ग्लभाषायां प्रवक्ष्यामि। I said that Sanskrit is my mother tongue, but because perhaps not everyone will understand everything, although Malayalam is very close to Sanskrit and contains a lot of Sanskrit vocabulary, therefore I shall speak in English. It's a great honor to be here with all these respected individuals and with the Hindu community of Croydon. Basically, my speech has become unnecessary because these wonderful children who performed here before, they covered everything I wanted to say. And it tells us something about the youth. When youth can do something like that, I was extremely impressed. When they can do something like that, then Hindu Dharma has a very bright future. So as basically I was requested to speak about how we can be proud of Hindu Dharma, I shall just add a few words to this, and then we'll maybe also have a quick question-answer session. You see, today there is a big gap between what we call science and religion, science and Dharma. But this gap is, in my view, and in the view of many respected scientists, philosophers, intellectuals, this gap is an illusion. And I want to give you a few examples from history. I have a couple of quotes here that I'd like to share with you, and please listen closely, because these were some of the brightest minds in history. And this is what they had to say about Hindu Dharma. I go to the Upanishads to ask questions. This statement was by Niels Bohr, who was a Nobel laureate and a theoretical physicist who is widely considered one of the fathers of modern theoretical physics, quantum physics. He said, I go to the Upanishads to ask questions. So he had the humility to realize that the Vedas and the Upanishads, which are part of the Vedas, that they had an insight, a profound insight that could help him understand his science. This is not a projection. This is not something that we as Hindus are saying. This is a fact. People like Niels Bohr were inspired by the Upanishads, deeply inspired. Then his fellow scientist, also an important figure in theoretical physics, Werner Heisenberg, he said the following: after the conversations about Indian philosophy, some of the ideas of quantum physics that had seemed so crazy suddenly made much more sense. Heisenberg is extremely important to modern physics. And I think we had a physicist by the name of Dr. Lakhani who was going to attend here, and he would be nodding now. He would say, yes, Heisenberg was one of the great ones. And then we have another wonderful scientist by the name of Erwin Schrödinger. And some of you might have heard the expression Schrödinger's cat. Has anyone heard this expression? Yes? And Schrödinger was not only an admirer of Vedanta and the Upanishads, he was a lover of Vedanta. And he said the following: "This life of yours, which you are living, is not merely a piece of this existence, but in a certain sense, it is the whole. This is, as we know, what the Vedas express in that sacred, mystic formula, which really is so simple and so clear. Tattvamasi, you are that." And we had a previous speaker who mentioned Tattvamasi, the great Mahavakya, the great statement of the Chandogya Upanishad, which really tells you, the listener, that in your innermost being, in your innermost heart, we could say the soul, but it's not a good translation actually. In your innermost nature, you are the ultimate reality, Paramatma, Brahman. So Erwin Schrödinger is explaining Tattvamasi to us. How wonderful is that? A Nobel Prize winning physicist who changed the world. Our technology wouldn't work without these people, is explaining Tattvamasi to us. And I think that is something that Hindus in our time need to know. They need to know, you need to know, we need to know what kind of respect Hindu Dharma has in the view of these scientists. And I'd like to share one more, and then we'll go to the next part. And this is Carl Sagan, one of the most popular astronomers, cosmologists, and popularizers of science in the 20th century. So Carl Sagan says this: "The Hindu religion is the only one of the world's great faiths dedicated to the idea that the cosmos itself undergoes an immense, indeed an infinite number of deaths and rebirths. It is the only religion in which the time scales correspond to those of modern scientific cosmology." What an immense statement. This is nothing about with other religions. It's just, what does he say about Hindu Dharma? What does he say about the Vedas and the Upanishads? Carl Sagan won the Pulitzer Prize for general nonfiction, but more than that, he is known for NASA's program known as SETI, which is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. It was founded by Carl Sagan. And look what he said about Hindu Dharma. And in this way, I have a big document here, but I'm not going to read everything, because obviously there are other topics that are important. But I'd like to request you to really research these things a little bit, to see what kind of admiration and respect Hindu Dharma enjoys among the scientific community. Not mediocre scientists, the top scientists. If you talk to a mediocre scientist, he won't know much about these things. If you talk to a top scientist, he will know a lot about these things. So that is my primary first request. And I say this because our Guruji, Swami Omkarananda, who was the founder of Omkarananda Ashram, always wanted the integration of science and Dharma. That was his dream back in the 60s and the 70s. And today, slowly, we are working on this. Our ashram also has a Facebook page called Science and Hindu Dharma. It's a very popular page, and we share these insights on the page. So this is what I wanted to speak about science. But now there is another topic, which is very, very important. And not many Hindus are really aware of this. And I'd like to share it with you in a very thoughtful, reflecting way. I'm sure all of you have heard of meditation. And we've seen it practiced today, and we all joined in it. And I'm sure all of you know where meditation has its roots. Can I ask the audience, where does it have its roots? A bit louder, please. In the scriptures, right? In the Vedas, in the Upanishads, in the Yoga Sutras, in the Brahma Sutras, in the Bhagavad Gita. That is where meditation has its origin. And if you go to a meditation class, sometimes you will hear about this, and sometimes you won't. That's fine, no problem. But more than that, have you heard of the word mindfulness? So now everyone is nodding. When you hear mindfulness, everyone is nodding. Mindfulness has become a wonderful trend in the corporate world. You go to the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, where all the world leaders come together, and what they do in the morning at 8 a.m. is mindfulness. And if you read the textbooks on mindfulness, for example, by Professor Marsha Linehan, one of the important authors on mindfulness, unfortunately, and this is for me personally, because I'm a scholar, I grew up in Ashram, I'm a Hindu by birth. So for me to see that there is only a footnote on page 100 so-and-so mentioning that mindfulness has its roots in the Hindu scriptures is very painful. It should be in the foreword. It should be on the title page, because that's what good academics do. That's what good scientists do. They say, who said it first? Nobody does this kind of chori that we just, we just claim that it is my own insight. Nobody does that in academia. Nobody does that in any field. And yet, in the field of mindfulness, nobody tells us where it comes from. So I have one homework for all of you. The next time you hear the word mindfulness spoken or mentioned in some context, please just raise your voice for one moment. Don't shout. Just raise your voice for one moment and say, by the way, this has its roots in the Hindu scriptures. Because we should mention that. We have the rishis, the great seers, who brought these things into the world. Would you know anything about meditation if not for the rishis? Would you know anything about Vedanta, non-duality, if not for the rishis? Would you? I wouldn't. I don't think you would. So we have a debt to these rishis. And in the Hindu Dharma, this is called the Rishi Rina. The debt towards the rishis, which is to study svadhyaya, to study and to teach pravachana. And the Taittiriya Upanishad says, svadhyaya pravachana bhyam na pramaditavyam, ma pramaditavyam. Do not be distracted from svadhyaya and teaching, from study and teaching. So it is basically a request to all the generations of Hindu Dharma down through the ages, do not neglect to study, do not neglect to teach. And I think this is one of the most important instructions that we can follow if we want to feel part of Hindu Dharma. So this is the second point. And the third point is one of morality. That morality is not something relative. We had a wonderful discussion yesterday with youth, bright, intelligent youth, Hindus. And they had a sense of that morality is something relative. But it's not. Morality is something universal. And this is what the teachings of the Vedas have always told us. It is something universal. And therefore we need to study them to understand how morality can benefit us in our lives. How morality, how dharma, meditation, yoga can actually benefit us. That we don't feel we've practiced it for 2 years, we haven't had a benefit, chalo chhod dete hain, let's leave it. No, that we continue, that we persist. That is the message of these scriptures. Never to give up, always to continue. Never to give up. And here I'd like to read to you beautiful verse from the Mahabharata, and you all know the story. So I'll just briefly mention the story. It is at the end of the Mahabharata where Yudhishthira and the Pandavas have ascended into the Himalayas towards Svargarohana. I know you all know the story. And the Pandavas have fallen and have passed away, and only Yudhishthira remains. And with him, there is a companion. Who is that companion? It's a dog, an animal who is with him. And then Yudhishthira ascends to the highest point where heaven and earth, Svarga and earth meet. And there, Bhagavan Indra, the king of the gods, meets him and tells him, Yudhishthira, leave this dog behind. Don't bother with this dog. You cannot bring a dog into heaven, into Svarga, into this luminous world. And do you know what Yudhishthira says? After all the suffering that he went through in his life, after all the troubles he went through in his life, he was looking forward only to that paradise, right? To that luminous world. After all that time, Yudhishthira says the following, Bhitam bhaktam nanyadastiti chartam praptam kshinam rakshane pranalipsum pranatyagadapyaham naiva moktum yateyam vai nityame tadvratam me. And I'll translate this. This is my vow always, my pledge, my vrata. I shall never give up on one who is frightened, on one who is loyal, who is in need because he has nothing else, or one who is unable to protect himself while desiring life. I shall never give up on such a one till my own life is at an end. Look at the morality. Look at the incredible morality, the incredible dedication which Yudhishthira is bringing to expression here for an animal. What to speak of other human beings? What to speak of other members of Dharma, of our fellow neighbors? Look at the morality. This is a universal morality. And this morality can be found in our scriptures, in the Vedas, the Dharma Shastras. So my request to all of you is that we can be extremely proud of Dharma. We can be extremely proud of these scriptures and of the rishis. But I want you to ask yourself, can they be proud of us? Can they be proud of how we continue this Dharma? That is what we need to ask ourselves. Of course we can be proud, but are they proud of us? That is the question I would like you to ask yourself. Thank you, and let's have some question answers on this subject. Hari Om Tat Sat. Jai Guru Datta. Perhaps if anyone has a question, we need a microphone. In the Upanishads, it is written that when the truth has been spoken, then there are no questions. But there is a question, yes.
Namaste, Swamiji. I just have a question with the Dharma. We're very proud of being Hindus. But in life's turmoils, where we wake up, finish our work routines and all that, we go through different stages of our turmoils as such, difficulties in life and all that. When you go through these difficulties, do we anchor ourselves towards Dharma, or do we actually just depend on hope to rescue us out of this? There must be something that we have to depend on.
Bhagavan Shankaracharya, in whose tradition we are, he defined Dharma on many occasions in his commentaries, but the best definition of Dharma is Dharanat Dharma. Because it carries, because it supports, that is why it is Dharma. It supports the world, it supports you, that is why it is Dharma. So I would definitely say that Dharma can be an immense support when you realize that ultimately it leads you to your own true nature. That is not just something you believe. It is not only a faith. It is actually a path. You go through life as a path. You're in this world for some real meaning, not only to enjoy, not only to have some material experiences, but we are here on a path. And that path is to realize our own true nature, which is Paramatma, which is Bhagavan himself. So if we understand Dharma to be this all-embracing framework, covering all of samsara, if we realize Dharma to be that, then Dharma is a support which is unshakable. You cannot be shaken from it. You're like a tree standing in the wind that cannot be shaken because your roots are in the true soil of wisdom, the wisdom of the rishis. And I'd like to highlight here that Chandrakant Shuklaji and his Mandali, by the grace of the Guru Bapu Shri, who is still alive in India, are practicing sahaja meditation, a natural way of meditating, which doesn't pressurize you. It doesn't give you the sense of that there is some duty. It gives you enjoyment, inspiration. And this kind of dharma activity is phenomenal because it is a way of joy. It's not a way of duty that, oh, I have to do something. Oh, I'd rather go to my office now. Let me postpone the dharma for later. No, it's something that you integrate in your daily life. It's something that gives you true joy and inspiration. One more question and then we finish.
Swamiji, one of the problems that we have in Hinduism is the lack of understanding. We all say people should interpret, understand things, and try to practice and promote those values in real life. What do you do and what can be done if people simply do not understand and follow the values? From my evaluation of these factors for a number of years, and I couldn't find that gap being filled. The scholars remain as scholars. The ignorant remain as ignorant. There isn't a significant contribution made by the scholars. Come into the middle of people and promote the values of high morality and ethics. What do you think people can do to promote and encourage that?
Well, there are two ways of answering this. The first one is one single word: Facebook. Because today everyone is connected in the world, and it has really become an incredible tool how to spread Dharma. It can be a power for good, it really can. But the second answer is, of course, that, you see, I think, this is just my opinion, that in modern Hindu communities, the parents are mainly in charge of conveying the values. Right? So you can say that modern Hindus are following the teaching Matri Devo Bhava, Pitri Devo Bhava. Have your mother as your deity, have your father as your deity, which is wonderful. No question, it is wonderful. The only problem arises when the parents themselves don't have a full comprehensive knowledge and understanding of the religion, of the spirituality, because then the children begin to think, if they don't know, why should I follow it? Correct? If they cannot give me the full answers, then, well, who knows, right? But that is why the Taittiriya Upanishad has a third Devo, Acharya Devo Bhava, that have your Acharya, have your teacher as your deity. And I believe that Acharyas like Swamiji, Chidananda Puri here, who are really providing the true, genuine knowledge to the communities, that there should be a kind of a reforming mentality among Hindu communities, that one really should send the children to learn from these acharyas. That doesn't mean the children all have to become scholars and priests, and that's not the meaning, but there should be some effort to send the children to the acharyas and to study. And if you look at Swami Chidanand Puriji's speeches, which are on YouTube, you see that he presents it in a very simple way. So anybody can understand it. We don't have to make it complicated. And that's also what we try to do at Omkarananda Ashram. We try to make it simple. Simple, sweet, but authentic and genuine. And I think that is what is required today, that the youth feel inspired. And I'll finish with this statement. Youth should be encouraged to question all our shastras, the Upanishads. If you look at the Upanishads, it's all about questioning. You have a question, series of questions, and then they are answered. So you should not tell your youth, don't ask questions, have blind faith. We don't do that in Hindu Dharma. Hindu Dharma is the most questioning religion that I have come to know. I also studied comparative religion. It's the most questioning religion. It is a religion where debate is encouraged. It is a religion where doubting is encouraged. Because when you doubt, then you actually have a jigyasa, an interest to know. If you don't doubt, there is no interest to know. So please tell your youth, ask questions, be doubtful, but also seek the truth. Don't just remain in doubt, seek the truth. And then you will find the beauty and the strength of Hindu Dharma. Hari Om Tat Sat, Jai Guru Datta.